today with me is world famous. You probably know him. His name is Tyler. His name is Tyler Childress. Tyler, welcome to Secret Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to speak with you about White Point Garden in South Carolina.
Man, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're the famous Tyler. Oh my gosh, your name's kind of tongue twister.
I know, right? Yeah, and I was, I think I was born before the other Tyler Childers. So, and he and I do play guitar. We both have the same name. We play guitar, but his voice is much better than mine. Much better than mine.
You were there first.
That's right. I was there.
Right on, man. Well, yeah, I'm just really excited to speak with you about Charleston today. It's the month of April, and we're finishing up the month of April. Today's the last day, and so I'm really happy that we were able to squeak this in because we are going to be talking about, and I'm going to pull up the first slide here with some information. We're going to be talking about the puzzle that corresponds with the month of April. Would you know it? And this, everybody, well, not everybody, there are a couple people that believe this goes somewhere else, but most people believe this is a treasure hunt that ends in Charleston, South Carolina. Tyler, how long ago did you learn about The Secret, and what's your background with it?
Well, let's see, man. I first saw it when during the pandemic. Like, that was the first time I'd ever heard of it before, and I was like, and I think it was the one about Charleston. I'm like, wait a minute, are you telling me I've lived in South Carolina my whole life, been to Charleston numerous times, and there's supposed to be some buried treasure down there? So I was hooked like that because it's such a cool town. I wish everybody could at least get the chance to go down there. But so I've been in The Secret for probably about 2.5 years. I guess however long the pandemic's been going on.
Sure. Well, you probably saw the Expedition Unknown when they came through your town with Coy Lothrop. He's a good buddy of mine. So I think he represented your town really well, or at least the treasure hunt part of it. And that was a lot of fun to watch. I actually rewatched the episode today for the first time in a long time to get ready for chatting with you about White Point Garden. And yeah, I don't know. It's a kind of a, when I went, I've been to White Point Garden one time. It was real tranquil. That's how I would describe it. I really thought it was beautiful. But I was only there for 3 hours. So, how often do you get out to White Point Garden?
We were there. My wife and I took the kids to Charleston last weekend. So we were there last weekend, and we were there about a year ago. So I've probably been 3 times in the last 2 years. But it's only like 3.5 hours from where we live. We live in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So that's in the, like, if you're looking at South Carolina, it's kind of shaped like a piece of pie. We live in the top corner. So it takes about 3.5 hours to get down there. But
okay. How far are you from like Roanoke Island and that puzzle up there in North Carolina?
The Outer Banks, we went there one time when I was a kid. We're probably 7.5 hours to Roanoke and about 6 hours to St. Augustine.
Oh, okay. Right on.
So I'm kind of within 8 hours of 3 of the possible cast locations.
Lucky?
I know, I am. I really am. I just kind of fell into it. And I'm like, you mean there's 3 near me within driving distance of 7 hours? But I've never been to Roanoke before. I've been to the Outer Banks, but not the Roanoke Island. But
well, you probably have a trip in your future you need to go.
I think so. Yeah, we were talking. I was like, hey, my wife's name's Sarah. I'm like, we should take the kids to the Outer Banks sometime. Just go out there. I don't think she has any clue there's a Roanoke treasure out there. So,
well, good. You can just tell her, hey, we're gonna go for a nice, relaxing vacation, and then boom.
Oh, hey, we're here. Let's take a tour right quick. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Hey, well, we're going to get into your ideas for White Point Garden. And before we do, I think one of us should read the verse. Do you want to do it, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. The whole thing. All right.
Yeah, go for it.
Of all the romance retold, men of tales and tunes, cruel and bold, seen here by eyes of old, stand and listen to the birds, hear the cool, clear song of water, hearken to the words, freedom at the birth of a century, or May 1913. Edwin and Edwina, named after him, or on the 8th, a scene where law defended. Between 2 arms extended, below the bar that binds, beside the long palm shadow, embedded in the sand, waits the fair remuneration White House close at hand.
Sweet.
Poetry, right? I mean,
yep. That Byron Price guy had his way with words, didn't he?
He did.
All right, so we're going to jump into some of the slides that you provided for us today, and the first one is like I'm going to have to say is super adorable. Yeah. Like a child drew the skyline of Charleston. Is that what happened here?
That's what happened there. My daughter, she's 7 years old, and we were, like I said, we were in Charleston last weekend. So I told her I was doing this. So she goes off, and about an hour later comes back with this, and I'm like, okay, I'll ask Mr. Dustin if he can put it on the podcast. That'd make her day. So.
It's adorable.
That's original. Oh yeah, and that's from like just her mind. Like she wasn't looking at it, and she just drew that up. And I like how she misspelled it and all that stuff. It's classic. Classic.
It's lovely. How old is she?
She'll be 8 years old next week.
That's beautiful. So on the top we have her artwork, and then on the bottom we have a look at the Charleston Peninsula from the south to the north, and we see White Point Garden. Well, thank your daughter for making that because it is pretty sweet. So I enjoy seeing that. All right. So verse and painting, you went with image 2 and verse 6.
I went with the old standard. Yeah. I mean, it's just hard to it's hard to disprove that Charleston Peninsula image, right here on the mask's forehead. I mean,
yeah,
it's a perfect match. Perfect match.
Yeah, well, the surrounding islands make it perfection because I don't know. Some people there's still people out there that believe that that's the shape of Florida, and I don't see it. But if that leads them to treasure in Florida, I say go for it.
That's right. I mean, yeah, I'm not here to disprove anybody. Say I'm right one way or the other. That's great. I mean, that's what makes it all. It's all interpretive. I like it. That's what makes this thing so amazing. I think this whole hunt so amazing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody's got their own ideas, and you're not necessarily wrong until somebody finds it somewhere that you didn't find, or somewhere you weren't looking, right? So
that's right. That's right. Exactly true.
All right. So Tyler, what's this image here? This is some old-timey imagery from Korea.
Yeah, I like this because it shows what the original White Point looked like, supposedly, and it was basically just a place where there were bleached out oyster shells, and the locals called it Oyster Point. And then I like the image on the bottom because whoever did that superimposed the modern White Point Gardens over where the old White Point was. So you can tell it's been molded and made into angular lines and all that kind of stuff. I just thought that was a nice image to start off with. And you can see that the early town up there, how they laid out the roads, and
yeah, that's really neat. Well, very cool. Thanks for giving us some history background. And it looks like you got another map showing Charleston from the mid 1970s.
Yeah, this is a book I got at a bookstore for $1.39. I don't know why I remember that, but I thought it was interesting because it shows the whole peninsula, and then even down to White Point Gardens. And there apparently used to be a tour boat that you would get on right. I guess it was right near the old Fort Sumter Hotel. I guess it was in the 70s. I guess they used to do harbor tours there.
They used to do what? I missed that.
I think they used to do harbor tours from the Fort Sumter Hotel that used to be.
Gotcha. Well, very cool. Yeah, these kind of books are probably invaluable, like to people searching for these treasures. And it's just you got to think, well, what could Byron have possibly got his hands on at the time?
Right. I tried to everything in this presentation is, I think, before 1982, other than the pictures that I personally took. Like all of the map images and all the definitions are all from like the correct time period. I try to do that when I'm searching for these things. I try to like exactly what you said, like what would Byron would have been looking at? He'd have been going to libraries and using encyclopedias probably, and atlases and all this kind of tourist stops he would probably have stopped in.
Yep, for sure. All right, so we have the next slide here shows White Point Garden. There's an arrow pointing to the tip of the peninsula, and it's talking about the size of White Point Garden is 5.7 acres. And Is there anything else you wanted to touch on with this slide?
No, I mean, I just like this image because you're able to see Fort Sumter and Fort Moultrie. So this is like the harbor. Like this is what's beyond White Point, and why it was such an important military strategic command, because they could defend the Ashley and the Cooper rivers, and anybody going into the harbor. I mean, you would have had to really do some evasive maneuvers to I guess to get past.
There's very little space to slip between.
Very little space to oh yeah. And I think out there there's shoals and sandbars and all kind of stuff. So it'd be very tricky to just come, buccaneering in through there and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's why the Union had such a problem getting through during the Civil War, right?
That's right.
All right, let's take a look at. So you're breaking down the verse here. It looks like you broke it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections.
Yeah, this is kind of how I kind of break it down. I'm sure everybody does it differently. I just kind of just break it down into, or at least this particular verse. This is what I kind of do with it. Exactly. I just kind of break it down and try to understand the important aspects of each one, I believe.
Okay, so you start at the top like most people do, of all the romance retold, men in tales and tunes, cruel and bold, seen here by eyes of old.
Sure. Oh yeah. And to me, that speaks of Treasure Island and pirates and buried treasure. And I think what he's done is he's just kind of rearranged I don't know if that's the intro. I don't know what that's actually called. It's like in the front of the book. I don't know if it's but that's what you see first. Like when you open up Treasure Island, I believe that's what you see first. So, and surely if you would have seen that and had the verse, I would guess you would have made that connection. I would guess.
Oh yeah, like if you're, like say a teenager in 1982 when this book comes out and you've read Treasure Island, some of these phrases are going to jump out to you, especially like romance retold. It's right there in the preface. I think that's what this portion of the book is called, the preface of Treasure Island. And, it says, romance retold, sailor tunes.
Yeah, I've never seen I've never seen a better theory than this. I mean, to me, this is like not 100%, but, at least 98.7%. This is probably probably getting you to, hey, this is Treasure Island. This is going to involve pirates and treasure and, all kinds.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right. So the next section, so we have the first section taken care of. Then it's stand and listen to the birds, hear the cool, clear song of water, hearken to the words, freedom at the birth of a century, or May 1913.
So I think this is, like I said, we were just down there last weekend, and this is the Hunley Monument on the right, and the two images below it are the same thing. And if you're standing there, I'm sure everybody watched the Josh Gates episode. You hear birds and you hear the water. I just couldn't believe how obvious that is when we were standing there last weekend. You hear the water and you hear the birds. So
from the bandstand, you can hear both of those.
We were actually more near the Hunley Monument, but even there you could. They're just birds all in those trees, all in those trees.
Okay, yeah. So when I went to White Point Garden the one time, I spent most of my time in the bandstand. I met with this gal that listens to my other podcast about Oak Island, and I actually helped her with a dig, and we filled it in, and it looked like it did when we started. So throwing that out there to begin with. I didn't dig my spot. I didn't touch it, but I helped her out, and then basically we stood in the bandstand because it was raining. It was in September, and it was raining that day. And I actually, I had James Renner's documentary. I have a link for it because I reviewed it a long time ago. And I was showing her clips of pieces of it, not all of it, because can't share it with somebody like that. But I was showing her little clips, hey, look at this. And she was like, wow, that's so cool. But yeah, I spent a lot of time in that bandstand, like probably an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, it's a really good place to start because I believe that is that's pretty much in the middle of the garden area. I mean, it really is. But
yeah, so where we're at this point is basically Treasure Island to the bandstand and hearing the water sound from the Huntley Monument. Gotcha.
Right.
Now we're at Freedom at the Birth of the Century, or May 1913, I suppose.
And I have no idea what freedom at the birth of a century means. I have no clue. But I do know what May 1913 is. That was stamped right on the old capstan. And I mean, that's pretty hard to deny, I would imagine. If I was in the 80s coming down here and I saw that written on the side of the capstan. But I have no good explanation for freedom at the birth of a century. Do you have anything for that, or any comments people do? I'm reading some of these comments.
Yeah, I got two ideas. So the one that was presented on Expedition Unknown is the one that I like the best, I guess, because it is the Spanish-American War ended in the late 18, or when was that? Yeah, it's a war where the USS Maine ignited the war. You know, when it destroyed, and it ended, I think, in 1898. I think, I just don't remember off the top of my head. Sorry if I'm wrong, but it was close to the birth of the century. You know, the birth of the 20th century, and so that freed, I think, Cuba from Spanish control, and there's some other. It was like fighting the Spanish and winning independence from them. So freedom at the birth of the century.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I have another idea that I just came up with today, and it's actually on the opposite side of the. It's like, so. The capstan is on the easternmost part of White Point Garden.
Mm-hmm.
The westernmost point of White Point Garden has something that could tie to that, and I'll come back to it later, though.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll talk about it because once you're done with your stuff, I have a few slides I'm going to share too.
That's great. Yeah. And these pictures were taken from a book I got at my local library. And I think these are from the early 2000s, but I do like that top picture because you're able to see the capstan. There's some palm trees in the background a little bit. And then there's like, you get a little shot of the edge right there where the cannon is. So, I mean, I thought that was a good image.
I mean, this is a dream for people into the Secret and really into White Point Garden, this kind of image. The plaque that's facing this cannon, I believe that's the one that says May 1918 on it.
Okay.
Or 1913. Yeah. So, yeah, cool. Yeah, cool imagery. You know what? Actually, I will mention, I don't think I have a slide for what I was going to talk about for the other Freedom of the Birth of the Century, but directly on the opposite side of White Point Garden from the capstan is a cannon that's it's a cannon of French origin. Sorry about that noise.
That's all right.
It's French origin, and that makes me think of the French Revolution, which took place, or actually it ended in 1799 when Napoleon ended up beating the French monarchy, and they were thrown out. And it was, they were thrown out before then, but it was when the war ended. It was actually, the end of the war was December 24th, 1799. So that's literally just a few days before the turn of the century from the 18th century to the 19th century. So that could be freedom at the birth of a century too. And that could be giving you some boundaries, I think. That was one of my ideas earlier. Just today when looking at some of this, I haven't looked at a ton of White Point Garden lately. And so I was going through that booklet has all the monuments in it. And each side seems to be, freedom of the birth of a century could be the westernmost side of the park, and then May 1913 could be the other side of the park, and maybe you're supposed to look above it or below it, and maybe that kind of narrows down your search area. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could all be just the capstan. All right. So your next item up for bid. Let's hear about Edwin and Dina.
This is actually one of my favorite pieces of the verse here. The whole Edwin and Andrema named after him, or on the 8th of scene where law defended. Like this is the pirate monument, I guess is what people call it, but it's on the it would be on the northern end of the White Point Garden, kind of near the capstan. I remember, like, when I was there last weekend, we kind of walked down Murray Boulevard, then around the Confederate monument thing, and then we saw a Moultrie, and then I remember seeing the pirate. But and like as a kid, I never even heard about this until The Secret, So I started researching this, and I'm like, but 48 men were hanged, like within the span of like 6 months or less. I mean, that's got to be one of the most large mass executions I've ever heard of in United States history, right? So, or whatever, since but it's really interesting, this whole thing. There's a great article from the Charleston County Library, I think it is, but anyway, it goes into all this descriptive stuff about all this. But, Stede Bonnet was the gentleman pirate, or so they say, and he was hanging out with Edward Teach, I guess that's how you say his name, also known as Blackbeard. So apparently, Stede Bonnet was raiding, doing his thing. So was Blackbeard. And then, they got apprehended by this guy, and he did this whole trial in Charleston. And the verdict was, I think 4 or 5 of them got pardoned, but most of them were taken to White Point Garden and executed and buried somewhere off White Point Garden. Obviously not near the low water mark, but the high water mark, hopefully.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's some story, man. It's crazy.
It really is. Again, like I said, I'd never heard of this as a kid. But yeah, this image is on the right is from I have a set of World Book encyclopedias from 1979, and this was a Blackbeard in the pirate. But I also thought this is before I had learned about the other explanation for Edward and Edwina about Charleston or something like that. Charleston. I thought maybe that Byron was trying to use Blackbeard as Edwin and Edwina named after him. Because I guess if you're in the order of names, I think Edward would come first. I thought maybe that was another play on that. But because anytime you're down there, like we were down there last weekend, anything you read on pirates mentions Bonnet and Blackbeard. Like they're hand in hand. Like, because I think Blackbeard was out there and he held some people for ransom for medicine or something like this, and so he's very prevalent in the pirate history down there. So I thought maybe that might have been the explanation for Edwin and Edwina named after him. But it was only later that I learned about the Abroad in America or whatever that quote is from or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, Abroad in America. Yeah, I, it's in there, but I don't know. To me, it doesn't feel like enough. Like there's not a lot of like if that's what you think Edwin and Edwina is, that's fine. I just think it could be more, and so I keep searching. I like your idea. It actually is pretty close to my friend Coy's idea. When Coy went on Expedition Unknown, his Edwin and Edwina was like Edward Teach and having to do with Blackbeard, just like kind of what you were saying. So you're not alone in that. They didn't air it because I think Josh Gates thought it was kind of a weak connection, and Josh Gates wasn't into the Edwin and Edwina from Abroad in America either. He had his own idea. I forgot what it was actually. If I remember, I'll let you know. But yeah, Josh had something completely different. So.
Oh,
yeah, but definitely law was defended here. How about that?
That's right. Yeah, law definitely defended here. And I think that was the end of piracy as far as like, because after this, you don't hear anything more about it. Like, I think the golden age of piracy died with this, and that also brings it back to Treasure Island too. I think, I mean, it's swashbuckling, buccaneer, pirates. So you have two references to pirates in this verse, in my opinion, right? You got the Treasure Island start, and then you got this thrown in there. And you're right, Law basically did defend. And this, I just threw this in here because to me, the most important lines of this whole verse are, between two arms extended, below the bar that binds, beside the long palm shadow. I think those are the three. And I just looked up the definition in a dictionary, and there was this many definitions of bars. I mean, it's just unbelievable how many sandbars, law bars, iron bars, all kind of stuff. So very vague, very vague.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know which one. There's a lot of different options here. Did you ever fall on one, like one that you liked better than the others?
I tend to think it's not musical or a sandbar, or I think it's definitely a bar that would bind something. I don't think sandbars really would bind anything. I mean, I guess you could probably figure out that, but I do think there's something there that maybe we're just missing, or I mean, maybe I'm missing or something. I think it might be. I think it might be there. I think it's definitely, a physical bar that would bind, I guess, so to speak.
That so much time has passed. It could be something that's no longer there. But I think most of the things at White Point Garden is still there, though, except for one.
Except for one. Yeah.
All right, so you got arms extended everywhere. You got the Charleston Defenders Monument, and who's that over there?
That's Jasper. Yeah, that's they call it the Sergeant Jasper Monument, I think, but it's actually the Fort was it Moultrie? I can't remember. I think it's one of those two, but I did like this because when I first got into this, I was reading about how I mean, you could see that as two arms extended, because one, the Confederate is at that position number 6, and the other one, Jasper, is 20. So there are arms extended. I mean, those are physical arms being extended. So I don't knock anybody who thinks that could be an important clue at all.
Hey, I had a really dumb idea when I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, oh man, I wonder, like, what if because the Defenders of Charleston Monument, the Confederate Monument, has like a man and a woman on it, right?
I think that's I think it's supposed to be a god protecting the Confederacy, which is a woman. Yeah. I think you're right. I think that's what the tour guide said last week. Yeah, well, so you had a tour. That's cool. I was just thinking, like, what if that's Edwin and Edwina right there? But no, it's the dumb idea. Or is it? There are no dumb ideas, man. There are no dumb ideas. It's been 40 years, right? I mean, there's got to be.
Yeah. So, for sure. I think the base of that monument is an 8-sided, like, octagon, and so on the 8th scene is something that some people like for this area. I know that was like my friend John Michaels, the guy that started this podcast, Podcasque. He that's what he believed was the on the 8th scene, because you walk around it and there's like different things to be seen. Those reliefs in the side. So I don't know, just something of note.
Yeah, and if anybody wants, I mean, I took pictures of that whole statue because that's something that I hadn't done like the past 2 times I was there. So I took pictures of all the reliefs last weekend. And if anybody wants some, just let me know and I'll send them to you. And there's also some other little designs at the bottom too, but I don't think anything that matches in the painting though.
Gotcha.
Oh, Dale Schumacher says the raft torpedo is gone. Yeah, I think he's right too.
Yeah.
There used to be some kind of raft torpedo or something there, and I don't even know where it was. Maybe he can enlighten us.
It's in that booklet if you need to see it. The White Point Garden booklet. All right, so next, you do have the Hobson Monument highlighted. What's up with the Hobson Monument as far as the secret goes? You think?
Well, I just think it's one of the most unique ones there. It's a sundial, right? And it's really the only thing. If you look at that map, most of the monuments are to the eastern side, right? And then you kind of on the western side, you got the Hobson. I think there's a cannon over there. The little girl fountains over there. The little angel, I think, is the locals call it. But I just think this is a cool monument right here. But it's right there on the corner of Murray and King Street, I believe, is where it's at. Murray and King Street. But I just think it's one of the more unique monuments there. And as April 26th, April. It's the April puzzle. There's a lot of things from April that I've noticed with like some of the Civil War stuff. I think something happened to either Fort Sumter or Fort Moultrie in April. So, and it's just kind of out there by itself, but it's really close to the road though, and the old Fort Sumter hotel. But I think it's called the Fort Sumter House now. But it's really close to those, which some people interpret as the White House.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's right across the street, right?
Right across the street.
Yeah. So something that strikes me about the Hobson Monument is, a sundial is, this is obviously a monument, but the main purpose of a sundial is to cast a shadow to be able to tell you the time. And the verse specifically calls out shadow.
Right.
So
yes, for sure.
Could there be something there? Maybe.
Could be. Oh yeah. And we were there. I can't believe I didn't do this. Like we were there last weekend around 4:00. I can't believe I didn't take a picture. I should have remembered to do. We were there at almost the right time. But yeah, there might be something to it.
Don't beat yourself up. There's websites where you can do shadow casters. I'm going to show you one here in a little bit. All right. So yeah, the Hobson Monument, pretty sweet. It's it could be something. All right. You have a slide here about the capstan.
Yeah. Capstan.
I think I put some of these out of order. I'm sorry, Tyler.
That's okay. That's all right. And we can just keep it free, keep it easy, keep it going. Yeah. I like this because in the definition that I got last night, I have a set of 1981 Webster's dictionaries. And I believe it says bar in there. That's why I put that in there. I think it says bar in there. A machine for moving and raising heavy weights, as in turning around a vertical. Yeah, usually by bars.
Yeah.
So, that's a bar that binds,
Yeah.
It was there at one time, and there were palm trees around there.
For sure.
I just thought that was important to put that in there.
Yeah, I have a picture that I'm going to share a little bit later that actually has a capstan with bars in it. So,
and those pictures down there, those are the benches that are all over White Point Garden. That's a kind of blurry picture, but there's actually, you can see a bar in there, and there's a wing nut on there. So there's a bar running along, I guess, to tighten the bench together if it ever gets, willy wonky or whatever. So there's just bars all over down there. There's and that's that picture looking out at the water. That is looking out into the Ashley River, and that goes all the way down, and then turns back and goes up toward East Bay Street. So there's just bars everywhere down there.
It's kind of crazy. When I was there for just literally the 3 hours I was there, I didn't even see the water one time, and it was daylight.
Oh, man, it's beautiful.
The only water I saw were raindrops falling on my face because it was before I got LASIK eye surgery, so I had glasses, and there was rain all over my face and stuff. But that was the water I saw. I did not even take a look at the harbor or anything, and I really regret that.
you kind of have to time it just right. Like, we were down there, and it was like, there was no humidity. It looked like that picture on the left. And I mean, you could see the lighthouse on Sullivan's Island. You could see Fort Sumter. I mean, you can just see everything. You can see everything out there. Like, it's visible to somebody just standing there on a clear day. You can see all that stuff, and which is why I think it's in White Point Garden, because that would just be, it's so picturesque, and it has so much history to it. I mean, like I said, if I was going to bury something, I would probably try to bury it there if I would, just because it's just so historically important.
Yeah, the only thing I can see that is hard for me to kind of reconcile with White Point Garden, that was really hammered home really hard in the last podcast I did with Will, when we were talking about Sullivan's Island, is the African immigration thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there is like things that happened at White Point Garden that have a strong immigration tie that I just never found or is not widely written about. But does that mean Byron may not have been able to find it either? Or maybe it was just being in the town was enough, because it was such a hub for like African slave trade. I mean, maybe that is enough, but Sullivan's Island has all of it. So,
right. Yeah, I think I read somewhere where at least half of the African Americans in this country, half of their ancestors came through Charleston, and the other came through, I think it was Savannah. I think that was the only other major port for that. It was Charleston and Savannah. And I think Charleston is where most of them came through.
Gotcha. Well, I like this imagery that you put together here with the capstan superimposed over what the site kind of is now with the Moultrie Monument.
Yeah, I didn't even know I could do that until last night, and that's in Microsoft Word. Believe it or not, I did all this in Microsoft Word. That's how old school. Oh yeah, I mean, it's just.
That's old school, man. I showed you an app I was using earlier to erase stuff, and you're like, "Whoa!"
That's what I needed. Oh yeah,
that's funny.
Oh,
all right, so embedded in the sand waits the fair remuneration. White House close at hand.
Okay, so yeah, I thought this was important because there's basically two types of soil down there. On all of those walkways, where I think if you watch Expedition Unknown, I think Josh Gates, tries to like probe any of those walkways near the monuments are like concrete. I mean, it's basically crushed up oyster shells, and I think what I circled, those are bricks. So it's just rubble. It's just all those walkways are rubble, and it's hard as concrete. But anywhere else around there, it's this dark kind of sand right here. I don't know if you dug in all that, would it be white up under there or dark? But there's two totally different types of soil. And when I was there a year and a half ago with my dad, I brought my probe just to see if it was easy to go in. And it went in like butter. I mean, it was hardly any effort to go down. And we did that over near like where you park. I think it was Murray Boulevard, because you always feel like you're up to something sketchy, right? Like you're out there, and this was broad daylight.
Yeah.
And I had this moment, and I'm like, well, I drove 3.5 hours. I'm going to do it. So I went out there, but it goes in so easily.
Yeah, that's not the experience I had. You found some good soil to probe, man, because when I did it, oh my gosh, I was able to get the probe down, but then I'd hit like an oyster, and I'd be like, and then we'd be like tap tap tap. Ooh, this could be it. Yeah. And then dig. Nope, just an oyster. A little bit further down, tap tap tap. Ooh, this could be it. Nope, it was just another oyster.
Yeah, I think a lot of White Point Garden was built out of rubble, honestly, because they just kept filling it in, and they filled it in, and then it basically forms the shape that it does now. But
well, yeah, you saw those pictures you shared at the beginning, those maps. It doesn't the shape is way different than what it looks like now. It's like a landfill.
Mm-hmm.
So, very cool. All right, so that's the difference between the soils. Then we have the White House. Is this your White House?
This is. I tend to use the one on the bottom, the old Fort Sumter Hotel.
Gotcha.
That's just my personal opinion, but the one on top looks like the White House. That's no doubt. And there's palms all around it. I mean, the palm thing works, and that's actually really close to the Hunley and the Pirate Marker, because that's on, I think that's South Battery Road that runs north, and the Pirate Marker and the Hunley and the capstan is near that too. So you got all that stuff right there, close at hand. I mean, that's pretty close.
Yeah, they both work. I mean, if we zoom into this one that you like maybe a little bit better, it's a giant white building, and it's right next to the Hobson Memorial. So it's right there. It's on the edge of one of the park, just as the same as this one is. So.
Right. Yeah. It's I could see where both of those would be plausible.
Sure. Yeah, that's cool. And so now you have some of the monuments kind of called out in this diagram you drew up.
Yeah, I just kind of, I mean, I could have spent all day doing this. There's just so many. I just tried to highlight the ones that I felt were part of the verse. Like the only one that's no, I think they're all in there. So you got the Pirate Marker, you got the former capstan, you've got the Hunley Marker, you've got the bandstand. I just tried to, like, if you've never been there before, you don't realize how small of a place it is. It's only 5 acres. So like this compared to like Golden Gate Park, I mean, it's pretty small compared to some of the others, which is nice. But it's so quiet down there. It really is quiet, and you do hear birds, and you do hear water, and you do hear like the boats going by, and it's still a very popular place. I just tried to highlight. I guess the only one I left out was the Hobson, but it's number 12 down there. As everybody probably figured it out, but
yeah, it is really small. That's what shocked me the most when I got there. Like I knew it wasn't very big because I've looked at on maps for years, but it is really tiny, and that was like I wasn't unprepared for it, but like. When you get down there and you're like walking around, you're like, oh, I'm on one side of the park. Oh, I'm on the other side of the park. Like within, a minute. Like it's pretty small compared to like Grant Park in Chicago. Grant Park in Chicago is flipping huge. Hey, if you look at this diagram you have made up here, number 14 is actually the one I was talking about earlier. It's the French cannon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I thought that might have something to do with the French Revolution, which, as at the turn of the century. So just something to think about for whoever.
I think I have a picture of that too. If anybody wants that picture, I think I'm pretty sure I took one of that last weekend too.
Cool. Right on. So yeah, image similarities for White Point Garden. Looks like in the top left corner, you have the nose of the lion with the capstan.
I mean, it looks pretty close. It looks pretty close. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it sure does work, though. Sure does work.
It's pretty close. I like that myself. Then we have like part of the bow tie of the ferry looks an awful lot like the shape of White Point Garden itself. Like it's
Oh yeah. I mean, if that's not what that is, then I don't know. I mean, like I said, I guess I'm kind of biased here, but. I mean, that's a pretty distinct shape, and it's pretty close.
It's so good. Like,
it's good.
For me, that's exactly what it is, man. All right, then we have some more down here. You got so what's up with what are you comparing here? The mouth? The Hunley?
I thought just looking at this, I thought the mouth looks like the Hunley, and I don't know if that's ever been said before, but that's just what I've always thought.
Oops, we can't even see because it's behind our heads.
Oh yeah. I was trying.
Let me. There we go. I can move the screen.
There you go.
Yeah. I've never seen that suggested before. It may have been because there's a lot of smart people out there that work on these things, but that's pretty good.
And but that's definitely Fort Moultrie, though, right? I mean the
Something
thing that like but like as far as like the shadow and the nose, I've looked at that for hours. I got no good. I mean, maybe that's a flagpole out there. I've actually personally never been out there. I need to go out there, and then maybe I could have more to talk about. But to me, that looks like the Hunley. Just like the mouth, and maybe the white points are supposed to indicate white point garden. I have no idea. Or those teeth, I don't know. But that does look like the Hunley, though, to me.
Yeah, no, I buy it. I'm gonna say that's what it is now. Like, I'm gonna steal that one from you. That one's great. I like it. So on the face of this this the home plate Fort Sumter thing, there's a red line, either white or yellow line, and then a blue line. I think Will last week thought it was white. I think my wife is pretty sure that it's yellow. I'm not sure what color it is, but when you just mentioned flagpole, I was thinking, wow, it could be red, white, and blue with a star and the flagpole. That makes sense to me. Like flagpole, red, white, and blue, star. I mean, what would you see up on a flagpole? Red, white, and blue, and the stars.
The stars, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, my so Coy, that was his main theory actually. The flagpole not at Fort Sumter, but at White Point Garden. The main flagpole that is kind of more toward the east a little bit of the park, but I mean, yeah. And then we have the last kind of thing that you are drawing our attention to is the fish thing.
Yeah. I thought that looked pretty similar to the, and that's on the side of the Hunley Monument down there. And I think I wasn't the first to bring this up. I think somebody else had mentioned that to give credit to whoever that was. But I was like, I mean, it kind of looks like fish feed, I guess, or whatever. And I mean, if you turn it upside down, which could just be another hint to White Point Garden. I think that's what I was trying to go with this here. Like all these can be seen, or related to White Point Garden. Now you can look at all the other things in there too, like the lion's mane could be a hint to the USS Maine. I mean, you can look at some of the relief on the lion's head and on the top right, kind of looks like some of that relief from the defenders of the Confederacy Monument down there.
Sure.
Yeah, all that right there. That kind of looks like those reliefs that are on that monument. I just didn't throw that in there because I wasn't too confident on that. But
yeah, some other people suggested that too, and it's probably the best I've seen because it's something. It's not there for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Something else I was thinking about earlier is the hair, like the just right up at the top of the lion's mane, or I guess this is the bottom of the lion's mane, right at the top of the lion's forehead. It, there's like a kind of a mostly curved kind of line a little bit, but then it does like jet up a little bit, and there's like a distinct shape there.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't seem like an accident, so maybe it's something. Don't know. Another thing that we didn't touch on that could be a reason that this is White Point Garden is if you look at the face of the whatever this is, shape, the clock face, or the clock, like the hour hand and the minute hand, or the flagpole and the shadow, or whatever you want to call it, each of them are tipped with white points.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty good idea as well. Like you said, I didn't come up with that. I saw somebody else come up with that, and I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of like you with the fish and the legs of the ferry.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I think that was your last slide.
That was it.
Yeah. But thanks for that, man. I had a lot of fun chatting about what the things that you're pointing out, and I can't not agree with any of them. So I am going to move on to some other stuff that you and I could just chat about. And I actually have one something I want to share that somebody brought to my attention last night that I was like, wow, that's something. So I want to invite everybody to go to either facebook.com/The Secret A Treasure Hunt or facebook.com/groups/The Secret A Treasure Hunt, because you can find this booklet in there. I shared it to both of the pages last night once again, and this booklet has information on all the monuments and history on White Point Garden, or otherwise known as the Battery.
Yeah, it's one of the best I've seen. Like it's one of the best all-in-one books that I've ever seen. That touches on everything.
Oh, yeah, good stuff. All right, so the Capstan. I mean, I think this is the other park it used to be in. I don't remember the name of it. It might be like Hampton Park or something.
Yeah, Hampton Park, I believe.
Yeah, and so it's like it had much smaller pedestal. It wasn't as prominently displayed as it ended up being in White Point Garden. But it's a cool image, a cool historical image to see of the Capstan. This is what I wanted to show you earlier. An example of a capstan being pushed around by the bars. Those bars extend pretty far out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you got to get a lot of leverage with a lot of people and manpower to be able to crank this thing. So those bars would extend out pretty far from like a theoretical bar from the capstan itself.
I had no idea they were that long.
Yeah, they could be. So this, if you look at here, like there's less holes in this one, but I think it's just because the capstan on display, or the one that was on display, is just more versatile. You didn't have to like have one in each of the holes, but you could to get more, more manpower behind it. But yeah, here's like an image that's been shared many times through the secret community with a gentleman standing next to the capstan. I do have a picture of the supposed White House that you would just see, basically looking just beyond the capstan in this perspective. You'll be able to pick out that house that looks like the White House.
I think I see the pirate. I think I see the pirate marker back there too. Like out right under that tree back there. I think that's the.
I think it is too. Like. Yeah. This is basically. So Coy went on to Expedition Unknown, but they did ask us for our ideas for each of the cities as well. Coy went on Expedition Unknown for Charleston, and they knew that we were doing the Chateau theory because that was what we were all about. That was our thing. And this is just a diagram I made. It's not exact because literally it's just a flat image, but I was trying to when I made this, I was trying to describe the palm tree where its shadow would fall. It'd be in that direction, and it would land. It would actually come across the sidewalk there, but the capstan, its shadow would basically fall right onto this corner here, and that's what we believe to be the hiding spot for the casque, is in that corner. It's between two arms extended, below the bar that binds, the theoretical bar that you're pushing the capstan with, and beside the long palm shadow. So boom, 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 gives you an X marks the spot if you go there on the right day at the right hour and see the shadow. And this was our proposed dig site. So this is from one of the producers of Expedition Unknown. They allowed us to, or they did GPR out there, and where the X is, that's where they actually got a hit. They got a hit there, and they did get another hit over a little more toward the cannon, I think, and back like maybe a step or two from where you see the GPR here. And so I was like, well, that's pretty close to where we thought, because we thought it would be more in the grass, like right at the edge of the grass, basically. But they detected something like in the hard part, the part that you can't penetrate. And so maybe, I don't know. Maybe they got the spot that we thought it was at, and there's something there, but maybe not. So it was just fun. I was looking through old stuff last night, and I said, "Oh, I'll share this one."
That's good, yeah.
So there's my two friends, Josh and Coy. This is right after they had found the capstan, which in a warehouse on Expedition Unknown, which is right behind Josh in this image. Then they also find the plaque. And there's where it says the famous May 1913. That's what everybody. That's why all eyes are drawn to this side of the park.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's
pretty undeniable. Or May 13th. I mean, it's And I think that's how that's written too. It's like, hey, if you don't get freedom at the birth of a century, or hey, try May 1913. It's the same way with like the thing about the Edward Ed Edwina named after him. Well, if you don't get that, how about where law was defended? I mean, it's kind of like, well, if you don't get this, how about this? If you don't get this, how about this? Kind of putting you, you know.
Yeah, I completely, I would not doubt that whatsoever. In my head, like, I don't know. I think Byron is like, there's got to be something that means something for everything, but maybe it is just like, hey, both of these are the right answer, and
Right.
find one of them. That would be cool.
And maybe that was the only one he did this with. I mean, you know, and I think maybe there's another one that keeps. I think there's another verse that repeats something. But I mean, you're right. I think all these are different, and you know, you can possibly solve each one using different techniques. I mean, that's what just makes it so interesting to me that you can do this a number of ways.
Sure. Yeah. So, like in the image, we have the gemstone, which is the diamond, and
White
Byron.
point. Mm-hmm. It has white points on it as well, just like the other things. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Byron famously in an interview, I don't know which newspaper it was from, I don't remember off the top of my head, but he famously said, the gems that are worth more will be harder to find. And you would think diamond's going to be worth the most, but it really depends. I think I was talking to Will about this. If you have a really tiny diamond and a big ruby, well, the ruby's going to be worth more. But but it is technically the most valuable gemstone as far as birthstones go. So maybe this is the hardest one. Maybe we're all completely wrong.
Maybe that's right. Yeah, I saw where somebody in the comments said something about they're using the verse about the citadel in the night.
Yeah,
which makes a lot of sense. I can see that working there. I can see that one, at least part of it. But I think it's kind of hard to deny this one though. That's just my opinion. But the citadel in the night. I mean, yeah, there is a citadel down there. Of course, which could be the right answer too. I just think this one fits White Point Garden better. Like especially if you're there. Like I think these were meant, like people have said 1,000 times. Like I really think you have to be in these parks to notice a detail maybe that you can't if you're just looking online. You know, maybe it's edge of this or edge of that or something that you wouldn't normally like see. But I do think this verse works pretty well with Charleston. But that's not to say it's right.
Yeah. So it was Will was using that last time we were on chatting about Charleston a couple weeks ago because of, like you said, the Citadel being a part of Charleston, which I love. I really like that a lot. But when I look like Will, you might be right. And if you are, I hope you can get a chance to dig it up someday. When I look at the painting and I see this shape right here, I can't. This is as far as I can zoom in, but the shape right here in the middle that looks like White Point Garden, and then we have the white points on the hour hand and the minute hand. To me, both of those tell me we're supposed to be in White Point Garden, but is it really going to be that overt? That's a lot of other, there's not many that I can think of puzzles that are that overt. I mean, you look at San Francisco and it has the Golden Gate Park. If it's in Golden Gate Park, I mean, that's pretty overt.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, and that's the shape of the park in the painting. That would tell me it's in that park.
Mm-hmm.
But I have ideas about Chinatown in San Francisco and the Cliff House and everywhere in between. So it's hard to know.
It is, and I do like that image because it's just very cleverly done. I think, as all of them are. I just like that one because I'm from South Carolina, and I just tend to,
Yeah, I feel you. All right, so this is the last thing I wanted to share because last night I came across like somebody replied to one of the postings I made about doing this with you today, Tyler, and he's actually in the chat. I see him here. His name is Jeff Spell.
Oh yeah.
And he shared this image, and it kind of blew my mind. Like, it really did because I was like, Are you kidding me? Like it looks just like the shape in the painting. It's
It
very
does.
close.
It does.
Yeah, there's very few things that are exact in the Secret. I don't think this is exact either, but it's really close.
Okay.
This shows the fairy from the painting, and the shadow of the little dancer. It's a statue / water fountain in White Point Garden. It's more towards the western side of the park. And he shared this last night. I asked him if I could share it today, and he said go for it. So thank you so much for that, Jeff. This is a little bit like the resolution's pretty kind of blurry. So I tried to make one of my own, and well, I guess we'll get to mine in a moment. This is from the website called suncalc.org, and it allows you to pick any spot on a map, put in what time and what day you want the shadows or where the sun position you want that to reflect. So literally for this, I just hovered it over the Little Dancer, which is kind of by the Hobson Memorial. The Little Dancer, I put in an approximate height of 4 feet because I don't know exactly how tall it is. And I ran the shadow, and the shadow falls onto the pathway, which is like, that's going to be hard to dig because, it's the oyster shell concrete stuff. But after Byron Price buried a casque in a baseball field, which is also very tough to dig through.
Oh, yeah.
I don't put anything past this guy.
I don't either anymore. I mean, you're right. I've never really thought about that. I mean, I played baseball my whole life, and it's unless he buried it like in the grass somewhere or, but that's very compacted soil as well. A baseball field, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So if he buried it under home plate, I mean, okay. So traditionally a lot of things are buried under home plates. Like, places do that. It's like a tradition sometimes at some places. I think a lot of time capsules get buried under home plates around the country. Anyway, it's not an easy task. Like that. So like I play baseball too. Soil, like the ground at home plate, is so freaking tough. And the only thing I could think of is if it had a grass infield at one point, like the actual infield was grass. And just the baselines were the dirt only, maybe. But if he buried it under home plate, man, he had to be there a long time digging that and getting it to depth and then filling it back up and spreading out the dirt and then replacing home plate. Woo! I mean, it could be done, but man, that's going to take, I think, hours. I don't care how fast you are.
Yeah, because a baseball field's not really secluded, really, or at least the ones I used to play on. I mean, you're unless he was dressed like an umpire or something. I don't know. Maybe he went out there, dressed like an umpire or something. That's what I would do if I was going to bury something in a baseball field. I would try to, blend in. But yeah, that's a good point. That's
he was probably an umpire with a hard hat.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the Little Dancer and the shadow behind her, which is very reminiscent of the fairy. If you just if you're not don't look at the fairy, just look at the shape of the fairy. And that's what is in my brain right now. And I love this imagery. Like, I think it's so cool. And then I can't remember who the first person to show this to me was because it wasn't Jeff. I've seen other people suggest this, that in the painting for Charleston, we have one of the branches that a lot of people think Pearman Bridge. And that's cool. That's fine. There's a pair there, so it's great. But one of the sections beneath the branch part shows what looks like the bottom part of the little girl from the dancing, the Little Dancer. It's not perfect, but like I said earlier, a few things in The Secret are completely perfect as far as I'm concerned. Some people think that if it isn't perfect, then it doesn't count, and I don't buy that. But yeah, here is the fountain. This image right here is actually from that booklet that I showed you. It's from the picture would have been taken, I guess, in 1977 because that's when the booklet was made, which is only 5 years before The Secret came out. One thing Jeff Jeff Spell mentioned last night was that the ground around the fountain was different back in the day. And as you can see here, it does look different. It doesn't look like there's bricks under it like we see in more modern images. Let me see. It's like a brick platform around the base of it. So could that, if Byron worked a miracle and was able to bury it in here, could that affected it? Maybe, but I think, if they're going to put in the bricks, they're probably only going 6 inches deep to get the bricks around, and the treasure is going to be buried much deeper than that.
And that also works with the, hear the cool, clear sound of water, because that water fountain was working last weekend because my daughter and my son had their mouths all over it. I'm like, please don't do it. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop.
Hard to fight the kids on that.
Yeah, it's hard to fight the kids. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the one I ended up making. Because I wanted it to be a little bit brighter. The one thing I did forget that Jeff said that, because I showed this to him through Facebook, and he said, well, I kept the blue glow around her, and I didn't keep that. So keep that in mind. That could be why the arms don't look perfectly the same or close. But the main thing is this little girl, the little dancer, her arms are extended. And as we read the verse, between two arms extended, below the bar that binds, beside the long palm shadow, embedded in the sand. I mean, it's got check, 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 check. As far as the bar that binds, though, I don't know what that could be. Could it be maybe the pedestal here? It's binding her to the ground to, she's bound to the pedestal, which is bound to the ground. Might be a stretch, but what else is around here? If this is it, Byron wanted to do whatever he wanted to do, it is what it is. But I just love the imagery. Like the hair was so good. And the arms sticking out, matching the elbows in the positions. It's really quite good.
That's pretty good. If only it was extending out into that grass. If there was grass right there, because like I said, that was kind of the area where I was when and like I said, it did go in like butter. But who knows?
Yeah, so I haven't been there in April to check this for shadows. I think Jeff has, but if you're standing here, let's say your back is to the harbor, or your back is to what's the street? What's the lower street? Is that Murray?
That's Murray Boulevard. Yeah.
Yeah. So the southern street's Murray. Let's say your back is to Murray Boulevard. You're looking straight at the little dancer, and to the right and to the back, that's approximately where the shadow would fall. Like this image is approximately ish what the shadow could almost look like. It might be a little bit longer than this, but probably not by much. And I just look at it and I'm like, dang. Byron really buried it in that compacted oyster shell filled sand. There's one thing I just whatever it is, whatever's it down there is embedded in the sand. So it's just it is what it is.
There's definitely sand, and there's sand, gray, white, oyster shell. I mean, there's brick, there's all kind of stuff.
Yeah. And here's another look at it from the other side, but this is approximately also where the shadow would fall, somewhere in this vicinity, because this is actually from Google Earth. And when we're done with this, I actually want to pull up Google Earth. And this is something else I noticed. I don't know what the palm tree situation was in White Point Garden in 1982. I know a lot of trees have been replaced, and it's so hard to know. But beside the long palm shadow, this palm tree that would cast a shadow in the direction of the little dancer at 4:00 on the date that I pick is April 20th, because that's the zodiac changeover, and that has to do with the shadow theory my wife and I presented on Expedition Unknown. That would fall. It would be almost it would line right up with where the shadow of the little girl's falling, depending on what day you're there. So here's another look at that same palm tree. I mean, it's taller than the rest of them. It just is what it is. So,
and it's interesting because most of the palm trees are to the south. I think there's oak trees up near South Battery. If you, I think you can Google map this, but that's something I noticed last night when I was looking at my pictures. like there's a lot more palm trees heading down toward the water. So that would make sense. Or I would say that would give it a higher chance of being to the south if it's really in the long palm's shadow, for sure. But I think it's, that's a good point. Like, what did this place look like in the 80s? You know, I've tried to find pictures online, and but the ones I've seen, it looks pretty similar. Like, you know, if they're kind of sporadically placed. Like, I tried to measure it. Like, one time I was down there, I was like, oh, did they plant these palm trees like, you know, 40 feet apart? But I think when I walked it off, it's close, but it's not like precise. Like, they measured 40 feet off and planted one, then 40 feet off. But most of the palm trees, I think you can see it in that, are more toward the south area of the park.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that's all the slides I have. I was going to pull up Google Earth, and actually, I don't know how much. Do you have time?
Yeah, I got time. I got till 5:30.
All right, here. I'm going to bring us back to where it's just us for a second, and switcheroo a couple things. So we'll get Google Earth up here. Let's see. I don't want that. That can go away.
Let me read some of the comments too. Slave market. There's slave markets right there. There's a lion door knocker on Villa Margarita. Oh yeah, that's what the White House is called, Villa Margarita.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Will Kaiser's right. Yeah, and JFK was stationed at the Fort Sumter House during World War II. I remember the tour guide talking about that yesterday.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I've got the Google Earth up, and we can manipulate this. So over here is your Hobson, but what we were just talking about was this right here. This is where the little dancer is, and this would be that tall palm tree to the left of it. And just the way that the shadows fall, they fall kind of north east at 4 o'clock on those days. So, yeah, I don't know. I really like Jeff's idea with the girl, because how similar her hair is and her posing is with the fairy in the imagery.
Well, let me look back. Like I was telling you earlier, we were there last weekend on April, whatever it was, 23rd, 22nd, and I took a bunch of pictures along that avenue. So let me look back, and if I find any with the shadow, and we were there right at around 3:30, 4 o'clock too, which is unbelievable coincidence. But I'll see if I have any that shows the dancer or any of those palm trees down there.
You were there at 4 o'clock and you dropped the ball, but that's okay.
Yeah, I did.
We can still be friends.
I was being rushed by the wife. She was like, "We got to get back to Spartanburg. You know, it's like it's getting at 4 o'clock. It's 3.5 hour drive." I was like, "Okay."
I get you.
And see, there's a palm tree right there too. There's a palm tree right there, like you were talking about by the, and I probably have a picture of that too that I took last week, where the shadow would fall.
Yeah, approximately. I think the shadow for this palm tree would fall right in front of this monument that's here now, the mole tree, and the top of it would basically extend out toward like this grassy area that's between the road and the sidewalk. The capstan's shadow itself, which is what I would have been interested in, would fall right here in this corner, and that's about where we had a hit with the GPR. So could be there, maybe, but you know, as anything with the Secret, probably not.
Oh yeah.
It can be in places, but it's only really in one.
Right. And I plan to go back to. I feel very, very lucky that I'm within 8-hour drive of three of these supposed locations. And Charleston is one of my favorite cities. I mean, it's just awesome to go down there. But go in the springtime, not the summer. It'll be misery. It'll be misery in the summertime. Try to go in the spring if you can. But I definitely want to spend a whole day here. I just want to spend a whole day taking pictures of every piece of concrete, every angle, every tree limb, if I can, just to get a good representation, to see if there's anything that we've been missing But
Yeah, it's worth a look. You know, we might find a branch that looks exactly like the one in the image, right?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, there might be something that we're missing.
40 years has passed, though, so hard to know. Yeah, if you look at my cursor right here, where I'm doing kind of like a circular motion, somewhere right in there was where the other GPR hit was. So somewhere right in this section. I actually have I think I have an image where they were both hit, but I didn't come across it last night.
That looks about halfway in between the cannon and the edge of the concrete. It looks like it's about halfway, which is where, you know, I would try to, if I really want somebody to find these things, I would try to put them where, you know, I would find there would be the most chance of retrieval, not just, you know, haphazardly putting them, you know, at distances and all that.
Yeah. So here's your pirate memorial.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude taking it in.
Taking it all
right
in.
Across the street, well, it's almost right across the street is this house that looks like the White House.
Yeah, just down a little further. I took some pictures of that too, if anybody would want them, but you can find them online, and they're basically the same thing I took, unless you want like a true one as far as like right now.
Yeah, I know there was some guy that thought that the casque was buried next to, I think maybe this palm tree.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd dig there. I'd rather dig in a park than right in front of somebody's house.
Yeah, it looks a little close, and that's a pretty high traffic area unless you come at night. Like you'd have to do that definitely in the wee hours of the morning for sure. But you were going to go down there. Although I didn't see any like police officers circling like I did a couple of years ago. Like when I was down there like 2 years ago, there was one that would come by about every 30 minutes, and I'm like, man, they really think people are like, just digging up this park? I guess so.
Well, you know, it's funny. When I was here, there was a police officer parked right here the entire time, the whole 3 hours. There was a police officer parked right here. And
right where you want
that's right next to me. Yeah. But that's okay. I was able to just go and help my friend somewhere else in the park. So I won't disclose that location though.
I mean, it really is. It really is a picturesque park, and you know it's right at the tip of the peninsula, and there's so much history, and you can literally look out, you know, and see, you know, Sullivan's Island, Fort Sumter, you know, James, is it Castle Pinckney, I think is out there, Fort Johnson, where the first shots were fired from. I mean, it's definitely like you would get the most bang for your buck, I think, if you buried it somewhere down there. There's so much history right there.
I think it's here somewhere personally, but then I go back to and I think of like some of the stuff Will said a couple weeks ago, and he made so many good points about Sullivan's Island too. It's just so hard to know.
There's every point is valid in my opinion. I mean, you can use different verses to find there. I mean, it's all good.
So this can definitely be the cool sound of water, like you were saying, because you know it's a working drinking fountain.
It's a working drinking, yeah.
Yeah, for me, like the cool sound of water is just the sound of the harbor, just being right off of right past the capstan. You know, you cross the street and you're in the drink.
Yeah, that's the Cooper River on that side, and the Ashley River would be where
I see.
Yeah, but it really is.
So I don't know if this is switching, but it does. So let me see if I can pull up the shadow thing real quick. I've actually never used it on the computer. I always use it on my phone. So let's see how this goes real quick.
Sometimes it's good to go old school, man. You just gotta use the old PC.
Yeah, well, I used to be like a computer guy, but I'm not anymore. Like I don't understand a lot of modern computer stuff, to be honest.
Oh, I don't either. No, I mean I still have a desktop computer. I do all this stuff on a desktop computer. So
Yeah. All right, here we go. Yeah, I do most of it on the phone. Like all the images I make and everything is all phone. Let's see here. Is this right? It's not right. It's down here. Wrong peninsula.
Oh, there, yeah.
There we go. White Point Garden. Here we are.
Oh.
All right, so my main area of search was, looks like that's as far as we can go. Let's see if we can switch this to satellite. Okay, that works better.
That works. Yeah.
So right about there is where the capstan was, and the capstan was about 7.5 feet tall. And this does it in, it's in metric, so you got to figure out what you. So what's 7 feet? That's two, like maybe
so,
2.6 meters.
Yeah, yeah.
2.5 meters. Let's just do that. And then you have to pick what time. So that would be 16 o'clock because it's a military time. So 16 would be 4 o'clock, and then we want April 20th was my date with what Deidre and I would be into. And you can't really zoom in very much, darn it. I think you could zoom in a little bit closer on the phone, but as you can see, the sun, the position of the sun is, it's in the southwest, pointing toward, any shadows would go toward the northeast. And there's actually something else to consider here. So, actually, I have the information here. 1 second, I'll pull it up. Daylight savings time was different back in the day. So daylight savings time back in the 1980s, you did not set the clock forward like you do now. Like nowadays, you set the clock forward. Like this year, it was March 13th. In the early 1980s, it's April 27th, so much later, like a month and a half later. And so you have to take that into account. And what that means is all the month of April back then was an hour behind because you skip forward an hour. So it's actually 3 o'clock if you're checking 1980. Unless, you know what, to be honest, I have no idea if this accounts for daylight savings time. I forgot. Like if I ever figured that out, I don't remember it now. I think it does because it literally just changed the shadow there. So that's approximately where the shadow is, the dark piece there.
Okay. Yeah.
If you wanted to go over to the little girl, because she's a little bit smaller, this is the little dancer, you'd have to change her height to 1.3 meters. And as you can see, if I could zoom in closer, which I can't, the shadow basically falls right onto the dirt pathway or the oyster shell pathway.
Oh, yeah.
So just when you think about it, you just got to take into account that daylight savings time was different back in the day. I don't got anything else. You got anything else to add, Tyler? Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we've covered a lot, and it's been really enjoyable. Like I said, I really appreciate you asking me to be on the show because I do find this stuff really intriguing that it's been 40 years, and hopefully I can contribute to help somebody pull it out of the ground, or at least find another one. Hopefully they all haven't been imploded or dug up, or I don't know. I don't know how long a plastic box would last if in the ground 40 years.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to think that some might just be gone, and if that's the case, there's going to be a lot of people just looking forever for nothing.
That's right. I think if it's in White Point Garden, unless it was at the base of the main, because when they changed that up, I'm sure they dug up all that. If it was there, it might be gone. But if it was anywhere else, and it survived Hugo, because that was our biggest hurricane, it could possibly still be there. Because I really don't think they've done many excavations, really, as far as I know. So just if they do anything, I guess they should just be on the lookout, I guess. But
yeah, I don't think they've done basically anything. Not as far as I can tell. They removed the capstan and I guess the torpedo or whatever, the torpedo thingy. But other than that, that's it. So, just if I want to say, some people think that like Houston, for example, is gone forever, and that's heartbreaking. That makes me so sad. It makes me like, what if it is? I mean, that's just like New Orleans. A lot of people think it could be gone because of Hurricane Katrina, or it could have just, I don't know. So,
if it was, hopefully, if it was in the French Quarter, it survived, because we went down there about a year ago and we talked to like some locals, and they said they had minimal flooding in the French Quarter, which makes no sense to me before I went down there, because it's right on the Mississippi River. But apparently that's where the high ground is. So apparently they had minimal flooding down there. So if it's still there, hopefully it didn't get dug up, cracked, popped out of the ground.
Yeah, I hope not too. Well, on those happy notes, I guess we should call it here. But Tyler, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today on Secret Podcasque, and maybe we could do it again someday with another city if you're interested. Sure. And I just want to just thank you for being here. But yeah, you have anything else to say?
No, man. Just
all right.
Just keep. Good luck for everybody out there still looking. I mean, I'm just glad there's still people, adamantly trying to find these things after 40 years.
Yeah, well, that's good advice. Keep looking, and if you're going to dig a hole, make sure you fill it in and make it look as nice as you did before, or as nice as it looked before you arrived, or even better. That's a rule of thumb. So, all right. Well, Tyler, thanks so much. This has been Secret Podcasque. We'll probably be back next week. I think actually I'm coming back next week to talk to somebody about Houston, Texas. So, if you want to, make sure to join us, and we'll have a good time. All right. Well, take it easy, everybody. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
See you.
Thanks for